Hello people, in this video let us look at some MCQs from nose and paranasal sinuses. Okay, so let us look at epistaxis here. All take part in anastomosis in Little's area except. Okay, so anterior ethmoidal artery, spinopalatine artery, posterior ethmoid artery and greater palatine artery. What is the option? So we have anterior. In the anterior, you have anterior ethmoidal artery. Behind posterior, you have posterior P and P, that is spinopalatine artery and greater palatine artery. Here you have the facial artery, that is the superior labial branch of facial artery, isn't it? So, anterior ethmoidal artery you have, spinopalatine artery, greater palatine artery. So, let's look at the options here now. Anterior ethmoid artery is there. This is correct. In Little's area we have this. Spinopalatine artery we have. Greater palatine artery we have. So the answer here will be there's nothing like this. Okay. So 3. So the problem with these type of questions, you will always start focusing on the wrong answer. So just remember anterior ethmoidal artery, spinopalatine artery, greater palatine artery and the labial branch of the facial artery. You remember the correct answers. Okay. So you remember these 4 arteries make up the Little's area. Posterior ethmoid artery is left out here. It's there here. Look at this, but it's kind of left out from this anastomosis, isn't it? Now look at this question. The site of epistaxis are all except. So Little's area, yes, there will be nosebleed. Then what else? Woodruff's area. What is this Woodruff's area? Like how you have in the Little's area, you have the Kieselbach's plexus. In the, you have venous plexus called Woodruff's plexus, isn't it? So there also there can be nosebleed. So they are saying this Woodruff plexus is located below the posterior end of the inferior concha on the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. So large thin-walled veins, okay, with thin mucosa. So site of epistaxis, that is nosebleed, where and all it can happen? Little's area, Woodruff's area, yes. And what about middle meatus? What about this one? Posterior-superior, superior aspect above superior turbinate. That's very high. The answer here is 4th one, okay. So this one doesn't happen. So it is except answer here. Remember, so these 3 are correct. Little's area, Woodruff's area and middle meatus are correct, okay. How's it going, people? Shall we move on to the next question? Now they are asking most common cause of epistaxis in a 3-year-old child. Okay. So in a 3-year-old child, what do you think the cause is amongst these? Okay. So go with this one, upper respiratory catarrh. What is this? Discharge, mucus, build up, all that. Okay. For epistaxis, now the first thing you will have to think about will be trauma, infections, okay. Mainly think about these, okay. Infections, trauma, okay. Now next question, 5-year-old child, most common cause of unilateral epistaxis. Here they are talking about unilateral. Only in one nostril there is bleeding. So here the answer, the choices given to you are foreign body, polyp, atrophic rhinitis, maggots. It's most common what they are asking, right? Most common they want. Not very strange things. So I think maggots would be a very strange thing. We don't want this, isn't it? What about foreign body, polyp? Polyp also we can remove. Atrophic rhinitis, let's look at the answer. 1. Answer is foreign body, okay? Usually the clue here is the unilateral. So they are going with foreign body, okay? So answer this one, most common cause of bleeding in children. They didn't write nose bleeding here, strangely. The most common cause of bleeding in children is nose picking, yes. What's the answer? Nose picking, yeah. Most common cause for nose bleeding is, guys, how is it going? Look at this question now. Most common cause of nose bleeding is, again the same question. Trauma to Little's area sounds like the correct answer, isn't it? Aneurysm. All these are not common, isn't it? Common they want trauma to Little's area. Okay. A very simple one here. The most common site of nosebleed in a child is Little's area, isn't it? Let's look at the answer. Yeah. Look at this question here. Diagnosis in a 10-year-old boy with recurrent epistaxis and unilateral nasal mass. So here the options are antrochoanal polyp, hemangioma, angiofibroma, rhinolith, stones. So here there is no foreign body option at all, right? So the answer here is 3, angiofibroma. Okay, so this is angiofibroma will be 10-year-old boy. Recurrent epistaxis, unilateral nasal mass. The mass is unilateral. Okay. Actually, we have studied juvenile nasopharyngeal angiofibroma. Remember, juvenile nasopharyngeal angiofibroma, right, in which we have seen because of testosterone in males, right, adolescent males, because of testosterone, what will you have? Benign tumor, right? This will be a benign tumor, juvenile nasopharyngeal angiofibroma. So here you should focus on this terminology, recurrent epistaxis, isn't it? Recurrent. So you can see this frog-shaped deformity in the face, frog face deformity. Now look at this question, recurrent epistaxis in a 15-year-old female. See, now there's a clue here, it's a female. So what is the most common cause? Will you write this? Nasopharyngeal fibroma? No. Can you say foreign body? Common cause in a 15-year-old female? I doubt that. Hematological disorder? Rhinosporidiosis. Let us try to decide between these two. Okay. So we are trying to decide between these two. Let's keep them as blue or something. We haven't decided them as the answer yet. Let's look at the answer here. 4. Hematological disorder, right? Yeah. Because we feel it is hematological disorder is because nowadays we keep ourselves so clean, right? From where will all this rhinosporidiosis come? Are we going to take some bath in the lake or something? No. So hematological disorder, right? That sounds about right. So we'll make this the answer. Look at this question. Recurrent epistaxis is not a common feature of. So spelling is wrong or something. Epistaxis. Okay. Epistaxis, recurrent epistaxis not. So you have, it's a not question here. Focus here. It is not a common feature of deviated nasal septum, atrophic rhinitis, nasal polyp, maxillary carcinoma. Okay, wait. It is not a common feature. In atrophic rhinitis, will there be epistaxis? Nasal polyps, there will be no bleeding, I guess. So the answer is 3. Yes. So nasal polyps. Recurrent epistaxis is not a common feature of nasal polyps. Look at this. In case of uncontrolled epistaxis, ligation of internal maxillary artery is to be done in where? Okay, that is what they are asking. Internal maxillary artery. Maxillary artery is giving which branch? All that spinopalatine, isn't it? So, do you remember here? This one is maxillary artery. It's also maxillary artery. So, if you want to control maxillary artery ligation, where will you do? Ligation of internal maxillary artery is to be done in the maxillary antrum pterygopalatine fossa at the neck, medial wall of orbit. Let's look at this. So maxillary artery, here you have the spinopalatine artery, then you have some descending palatine, all those arteries which are going to be important. So if you want to ligate the maxillary artery, where should you do it? So the answer here is pterygopalatine fossa. You should ligate it in pterygopalatine fossa. So where is this pterygopalatine fossa? Somewhere here, right? Pterygopalatine fossa. So we are almost at the end of this video, guys, where we are looking at MCQs on the epistaxis thing. If posterior epistaxis cannot be controlled, which artery is ligated? We are talking about the posterior epistaxis here. So which artery will you ligate? So we will ligate this one. No. We already saw this is not even involved anywhere, isn't it? So this one will not be the answer. Maxillary artery. Why maxillary artery? It's such a big artery. No. External carotid artery. No way. It's a very big artery. It will be sphenopalatine artery. Answer is 3. Right? Sphenopalatine artery. So did you get it? So sphenopalatine artery, you know where, right? This one. So sphenopalatine artery, that is this one. So whenever there is a posterior bleed, which is uncontrollable, isn't it? They are using some specific words here, which cannot be controlled. The artery ligated is the sphenopalatine artery. Some information on ligation here. So basically, the hierarchy of arteries used are sphenopalatine artery, internal maxillary artery, external carotid artery. So sphenopalatine is the first thing they are considering here, isn't it? Then the internal maxillary artery, external carotid artery, anterior posterior ethmoidal artery. So via the nose, endonasosphenopalatine artery ligation is the ligation of choice. Please pay attention to this one. Endonasal, ESPAL, endonasal sphenopalatine artery ligation is the current ligation of choice, they are saying. I don't think they will ligate it completely, isn't it? Not 100% ligation, but just to some extent stop the bleed. Okay, remember sphenopalatine artery, the first thing that they will try to ligate is the sphenopalatine artery. Then only comes the internal maxillary artery, etc. Okay, internal maxillary artery, that too if they have to do, where will they do? In the sphenopalatine fossa. Hope you have some idea about MCQs on epistaxis now, okay? That's all. We will meet again in the next MCQ video on nose. Bye-bye.